that's gone, yeah. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to our second in-person worship service since March of 2020. And a warm welcome this morning to Reverend Robin Murray, Robin will be in our pulpit this morning, and she is going to bring us joy on the horizon. Robin is the lead community organizer with Faith in Texas, which you will hear more about this morning. I'm Bunny Summerlin. I'm having a hard time. Is this okay? Okay, it sounds awfully loud to me. I'm serving as worship associate this morning along with fellow members of our justice team for our Horizon Faith in Texas. Today is another special day at Horizon. There will be a potluck lunch following the service, and we hope everyone will stay and share lunch with us. Whether you brought a dish or not, please feel free to join us. We also today are hailing and farewelling longtime member and music director Nelta Owen. Nelta is soon moving to be closer to her family. At the end of the service, please exit this direction toward where the picnic will be. And we want to say a word of thanks to all the volunteers who made the service and the potluck lunch possible. Thank you, volunteers. And we hope you will keep your senses of humor handy today as we move through this new way of doing. Again, this week, we are not ready to be singing all together indoors. So Deb Freeman and Bill Moore will be singing our hymns, and we invite us all to hum along or just let the music wash over you.
Good morning again. I'm MC Metter. Our call to worship comes from the words of Carl G. Seaberg. Let there be joy in our coming together this morning. Let there be truth heard in the words we speak and the songs we sing. Let there be help and healing for our disharmony and despair. Let there be silence for the voice within us and beyond us. Let there be joy in our coming together.
Our chalice lighting comes from Melanie Davis. If ever there were a time for a candle in the darkness, this would be it. Using a spark of hope, kindle the flame of love, ignite the light of peace, and feed the flame of justice.
Please stand as you are able in body or in spirit to join me in the affirmation of this church. Love is the doctrine of our church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in harmony with the earth, thus do we covenant together. and you may sit down.
You can follow along in the gray hymnal. This is number 347, Gather the Spirit by Jim Scott.
Gather the Spirit, harvest the power of separate fires who kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour. Outcasts in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again.
Gather
The spirit of heart and mind, seeds for the sowing are laid in store. Nurtured in love and conscience refined, with body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit growing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun. Winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again.
Good morning again. I'm Allison Ching. Our Share the Plate recipient this month is Faith in Texas. We are so happy that Reverend Robin Murray is in our pulpit this morning. We on the Horizon Justice team are learning so much from Robin about relationships, about learning to live our values, and so much more. There are 3 ways to give today. We will not be passing the baskets this morning. If you're in person, there will be an offering basket at the door going out to the labyrinth, and we invite you to give as you leave. You may give online at horizonuu.org. Click the giving button on the top right-hand corner and select donations. After that, just look for the button that says Give Here. You can mail checks made out to Horizon UU Church to 1641 West Hebron Parkway, Carrollton, Texas, 75010. And remember, anytime in the month of November, when you give for Faith in Texas, don't forget to put Faith in Texas in the additional information box if you are giving online, or in the memo line of your check if you are mailing it or putting it in the offering basket. So now please welcome Reverend Robin Murray to tell you about Faith in Texas.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. So good to see beautiful faces in a place of worship, an experience that I've only had for the second time as well. But I want to take a moment to talk about the past 4 years as I've come to know this Horizon family. To speak about Faith in Texas and what we aspire to do is something I've done in the past, and I feel like I have learned more about the UU faith, about the inner workings of the church. I've developed deep relationships, and I can talk about, how Faith in Texas is a nonprofit, and we challenge racism and classism, and we aspire to push against systems of oppression. But instead today, and actually let me say, I encourage you to go to our website, faithintx.org, for all of that information. But I want to brag on your Faith in Texas Justice team just a little bit more than a minute this morning. You see, I have seen so much growth, not just within the team, but it expound out into the congregation because of the work of your Faith in Texas Justice team and the support that you have given them. And they have done so much. Listen to the accomplishments and how you're moving the needle of justice. They've had several listening sessions to discover what you, the Horizon family, needs internally to live out your UU principles of justice and to build relationships outside of the walls of this congregation. They have made calls to put pressure on Dallas County judge and commissioners and the city of Dallas council members on key issues that were important to them. And it resulted in a moratorium and for the evictions and utility shutoffs during the most critical points in the pandemic. It resulted in the establishment of an ordinance in the city of Dallas, which required landlords to work with renters before they evicted them. And most recently, they emailed and called Dallas County commissioners about the insufficient use of Dallas County funds to uphold the sheriff's budget and jail systems versus offering more support in health and human services. And this resulted in the county having to defend themselves, which they're not used to doing, and ultimately meeting one of our 4 demands. And that was a pivotal moment for this team and the teams across Faith in Texas. They have done so much more. You have helped to register and turn out people to vote. You had a senior housing workshop. You've made hundreds of calls to the Texas legislators to stop some horrendous bills. You've had a My Story, My Power event for understanding immigration. You've stood with families in courtrooms when their family members had been detained. You all need to know that your Faith in Texas Justice team is moving the needle of justice. And so we encourage and ask that you continue to support us for these things. And if you're thinking, why Dallas County? Well, this congregation serves Carrollton, which has a group of places and people who are in Dallas County, and typically they're the ones who are deeply impacted and need the most help. But also we know that Dallas County impacts other counties. And finally, it's an opportunity for you all to gain the skills, your team to gain the skills that they need to do work beyond Faith in Texas. So I am peacock proud, as my pastor would say, of the Horizon Faith in Texas team. And I strongly encourage you to give on today to Faith in Texas so that I can continue to walk alongside you and find hope and joy in the horizon of liberation for all. And I hope to see you next Tuesday because they've invited a special guest from one of the other teams to come and share experiences and help move that needle. Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Menika Patakandla, and our first reading for today is called Joy is Hard by Reverend Joe Cherry. Joy is hard. Joy requires us to feel safe enough, to be safe enough, to open to vulnerability. To feel joy, you must be brave. Joy walks into a room after the space has been cleared of shame, cleared of doubt, cleared of self-recrimination. Joy is hard. Joy is hard, and joy is worth the hard work of preparation, preparing oneself and setting down all the defenses, all the should-have-nots and might-haves. Joy is worth the work. You are worth the work. You can start small, the simple pleasure of your favorite tea, the grand freedom of a full belly laugh. Invite joy to be your companion.
In the acknowledgement that we have not done the traditional joys and concerns, we would like to take this opportunity to have a moment of silence to observe and reflect on those joys and sorrows that are known to us and unknown to us. So won't you join me for a moment of silence? Before I read the text for our second reading, I want to say that I am a Christian minister and I always bring the fullness of who I am into any space. But this is not my first time here with Horizon, and I acknowledge and recognize the varied beliefs and faiths that exist in this house. So with that, I would like to pray before I read and then move right on in there. All right, so as you feel comfortable. Oh, hallelujah. God, creator of all things, I come to you right now, thanking you for an opportunity to be present in this space, recognizing that it is a privilege to be able to offer words of hope, encouragement, joy to those whom I believe you have created. But God, I also ask that you help me to have words that fall on soil that has been tilled by love and joy and experiences that have brought us into this place collectively. So I thank you for what is to come. Amen. Now, someone told me about a podium down here, so I'm about to step on it. Because I'm all of 4'10" and a half. All right, our reading is coming from two places. The first place is a Christian text called Psalms, and it's 16, verse 1, 5 through 11. And then the second is from Reverend Scott Taylor, and it is actually one of your chalice readings for this month's theme, but I thought it appropriate. It's For the Memory That Heals and Holds. So I'll start with Psalms 16, 1, 5 through 11. It's very Christian languagey. But preserve me, O God, for in you I take refuge. The Lord is my chosen portion and my cup. You hold my lot. The lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Indeed, I have a beautiful inheritance. I bless the Lord who gives me counsel. In the night my heart instructs me. I have set the Lord always before me, because the Lord is at my right hand, and I shall not be shaken. Therefore my heart is glad, my whole being rejoices, and my flesh also dwells secure. For you will not abandon my soul to Sheol, or let the Holy One see corruption. You make known to me the path of life. In your presence there is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore. Now the text from Reverend Scott Taylor, For the Memory That Heals and Holds. In honor of the history that holds and heals us, for the stories of heroism that inspire our own, for the faces of loved ones who have passed, whose images we see our better selves, for the remembrance of those who have paved the path on which we travel and blessed us with the advantages that we didn't earn all our own. These memories do not live in the past. They carve the contours of our present. They throw themselves into our future and lure us into building a life better for all. They are here today. Look, listen, let them in. May their light guide our way. This morning it is mine to share from the title, Joy on the Horizon. Now, this morning, we're going to take a journey together, and on that journey, we are going to explore those two texts. And our destination will be the recognition of joy on the horizon. As we journey, I want you to consider something for me. I want you to fill in the blank for this statement. When I am experiencing something that is difficult in my life, I do blank to help me navigate through it. Again, when I am experiencing something that is difficult in my life, I do blank to help me navigate through it. So if you're wondering why this topic, well, it's because life is sometimes hard. One of the things that is certain if we keep living long enough is that we will face some storms, some highs and lows. And they're going to arise whether we like it or not. Some of us have lived a little or a lot longer than others, and we know this all too well. We have come to points in our lives where the vision of hope or joy is clouded by the storm of frustration, confusion, isolation, and so much more. This can happen personally and individually in our lives or collectively as a community. Now, in my preparation for this sermon, I wanted to know a little bit more about horizon and what it is and why it's important. And of course, we know that the horizon is the line that separates the earth from the sky. We know this. But I came across an article from the National Geographic that spoke about the horizon. And it said that the concept of horizon is important to different types of work. It's important to things like aviation and to things like navigation and even art. I learned that in aviation, pilots use the horizon to keep the aircraft level by determining the relationship between the nose and the horizon. Pilots can change their altitude pattern by changing to the horizon and becoming that it's more sky, or they might lower that they see a little bit more ground. But the point is, I found this to be fascinating because on our journey, I want us to imagine, to pretend that we are like the aircraft in our individual and collective life as a church, and that we've been on a flight towards a horizon with a beautiful inheritance, a path that is laid. Now, we must remember that this path, it's not always going to be blue skies and sunny days. It's not always going to be joy and happiness, but in fact, there will be some times that we come across dark clouds and storms and rain that impede our visibility. But we should be comforted in knowing that we have hope, that we have not been on the flight alone. We have not. And Reverend Taylor speaks of this. What we should consider about not being on this flight alone is that we have carried those people that we love and that have impacted our lives with us, that we carry the history and memories of our ancestors and those who have come before us, that we most importantly carry the things inside us that can guide us towards that joy on the horizon. Which takes me back to that earlier question of how we fill in the blank in our statement. We can ask ourselves, have we been leveling ourselves through any type of stormy weather? Like the pilots, can we in fact hold in our hearts that even though we might not see the joy on the horizon, we still know that it's there? To experience the fullness of joy on the horizon, I would argue that we must have hope in something that will allow us to be steady, even when the experience of turbulence in our personal and collective lives are shaky. So let's explore 3 things that will help to keep us moving forward on this flight of life. First, on the flight, I would argue that we are to choose to be hopeful during turbulent situations. Life is full of choices. What are we going to choose? We can choose to be hope, to carry that hope in history, to carry what we have seen our ancestors accomplish that we are to build upon. That we can have hope, that we don't have to be shaken because there are those that have helped us along the way. There are those that have set some groundwork for us to move forward. The text in Psalm says, "Preserve me, O God, for in you I take refuge. God is my portion and my cup." For me as a Christian minister, this says the first thing out of this psalmist's mouth is, I take refuge. There is a choice to take refuge in something beyond oneself in this text. But I also love how Reverend Taylor says, remind us of those who have paved the way, who've traveled, who have blessed us with the advantages that we didn't earn on our own. To remember what they have done. This is beautiful to me because it's also an invitation to take refuge in something that has started way before we even entered into this world. It allows us to be present. Reverend Taylor says, carve out the contours of the present and to throw ourselves in the future. And so, again, I would argue that we should choose to be hopeful. Second, I would argue that we must seek encouragement from within. Now, the entire time that I've been talking about this, you might have been wondering, like I was, like, okay, you talked about, we can't see the horizon. It's cloudy. What do we do? There's turbulence. I don't see the joy. I might have a marriage that is a little bit rocky, and I don't see the hope and the joy. I might have a kid who's acting out and testing the waters. I don't see the hope and joy. I might have an ailment in my body. I don't see the hope and joy. What do I do then? How do I stay level and steady? Well, in the research for the pilots again, in aviation, I learned that many times they navigate by using an altitude flying, and that was the horizon, but sometimes they have to use this thing called instrument flight rules. And it basically is saying that they use the tools and the instruments within the aircraft to be able to navigate and control where they're going. So basically, I'm going to use what's inside to navigate where I'm going. We can do the same. We can use the Psalm says, seeking from within a connection, a relationship with God, we can go to God to give counsel. At least I go to God to give counsel, and in the night my heart instructs me. That's a personal relationship within that I can use to help and find my way through those storms. For Reverend Taylor, there's a seeking of encouragement from within, because it talks about the stories of heroism that inspire us within. And that those who we know that have helped to build who we are, our loved ones who might have passed, they are carried in our hearts and within. And so we can look within to be our guide. So, what is the last thing that we should aspire to do on this flight? The last thing is to hold dear, to center the principles and values that we hold. To center the principle and values whenever we are not sure where to go, whenever we are not sure what the horizon looks like. You all, as a collective body, are here because you share a belief and a value. And so when things get rough for you personally, going back and being grounded in those values, to be able for me to go back and be grounded in the teachings of my grandmother, these are the things that can help us as we are moving forward. So like the pilots that change altitude and when there needs to be an up or a down, when there needs to be a more leveling and steady, we can shift our perspectives. We can change our own attitudes. We can make sure that we are doing the similar thing of seeking and centering to get a different view of hope and joy on the horizon. And with that, I would encourage each and every one of you to consider this. As you go about your days and your weeks, as you move throughout life, experiencing some turbulence, and you're needing to stay steady, consider how you will fill in the blank for the statement that was posed at the beginning. When you're experiencing some of the most difficult times, individually and collectively, will you choose, seek, and center? Will you choose to be carriers of hope and remember that the history of those who helped you pave the way for building a better life for you, your families, and others? Will you seek to encourage yourself from within so that you can also then go and encourage others? And will you center the principles and values of your beliefs and your faith? My hope and prayer is that one day we all are able to get to that place and say yes to all of those things as we navigate the highs and the lows and the various points in our lives, especially during stormy weather, that we be reminded of the hope and joy waiting for us on the horizon. Amen.
So while we are discouraging you from singing, you may hum and you may move if you so feel. Or clap. 131. Yes, hymn 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road sing like an angel. If you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us. Hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
We will extinguish the chalice with these words. We extinguish the flame of this chalice, but not our commitment to our mission to welcome radically, love boldly, grow spiritually, and serve courageously. We carry this commitment in our hearts because we envision a beloved community filled with compassion, helping all to thrive in a just world.
This is our benediction. Life is hard sometimes, and we need something that will carry us through, that will level us out. And I hope that you will be blessed and protected and covered as you go throughout the week. My hope for every single one of us is that we are able to be reminded that our journey can be made better by remembering the hope and joy that in fact is on the horizon, despite what it looks like, that we can look inward and also to others. And most importantly, that we stay steady during turbulent times. May you go in peace, love, and joy on this day and the rest of the week. Amen.